Gaurani Hamdran Mahasevadino Kauru Sadhu Kanya. Sadhu, sadhu. I need to use my. Okay. Go ahead, take it, please. Dear Venerable Pantes, Dhamma friends, we are going to begin the puja from the kitchen area. The devotees take the puja trays, so we all are going to recite the Itipito stanza to mindfully touch the puja trays and respect the Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sattam deva manusana buddho bhagavati itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati sattam deva manusana buddho bhagavati sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Venerable monks and dear friends in Dhamma, ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම තෙරුවන් සරණයි. We are going to begin this evening special Buddha Vandana along with 5 precepts and also the Dhamma sermon delivered by the guest Venerable Sir. On behalf of Venerable monks of Hilda Javardhana Ramaya and the devotees who organized today's Vasana Puja and other devotees who are present here, and also those devotees who join with us through Zoom, YouTube and live stream. Let me give a warm welcome to Venerable monks and all of you, especially Ajahn Pawaro, the most venerable deputy abbot of Dසටහන Buddhist Monastery in Perth. I invited Venerable Ajahn Pawaro when I came to know that he is advised by most venerable Longfor Viradhammo to participate in today's event, because earlier, before that, I didn't know that Ajahn Pawaro is going to come to our temple today. So with my communication with Ajahn Viradhammo and also Bhikkhu Amaro, I came to know that Venerable Ajahn Pawaro has been the deputy abbot of the Dසටහන Buddhist Monastery, so that I was really delighted to have him here for the first time, if I am not wrong. So he accepted our invitation to conduct the short guided meditation and deliver a Dhamma sermon on a particular topic he selected. I think that is a great thing for us. If I talk about Venerable Ajahn Pawaro, as you know, the word Ajahn from Thai language is teacher, right? So he has been a very good teacher for several years. As I read through the information about Ajahn Pawaro on the website. So Ajahn Pawaro was an academic scholar. I don't know which area, but anyway. So he became a monk around 2000. High ordered bhikkhu, right?
2003 bhikkhu.
Yeah, 2003, and he was a special monk because we know some of our devotees know Ajahn Sona, who got his ordination at the Bhavana Monastery. I think along with Bhante Rahula, if I am not wrong. So we have read through those information when we visited Bhavana Monastery and when we met Bhante Yogavachar Rahula, and also from various Dhamma discussion I involved with when Ajahn Sona conducted, so that I came to know about the relationship between Ajahn Pawaro and also Ajahn teacher Ajahn Sona at Sitavana Forest Monastery in BC. So I came to know that Venerable Ajahn Pawaro spent his 7 years as a bhikkhu with his preceptor Longfor Pasanno and the Sangha of Abhayagiri Monastery. Then in 2010, he moved to Thailand, where he spent 9 years with Ajahn Achalo at Abhayagiri Monastery, and during that period he was able to practice Dhamma at the famous forest monastery in Thailand, Wat Phat Nanata, and he got a lot of opportunities to associate Sangha there, various leaders of Sangha. So in 2020, Venerable Ajahn Pauro was invited to come to the Tisaran Monastery where Lompo Viradamo, leads, so that he has been at the Tisaran Monastery since then. So we are very fortunate to have such monks in the close vicinity, especially Tisaran Monastery is one of the Buddhist monasteries we associated. I just told Ajahn Pauro that we invited Lompo Viradamo twice a year, one for the special event like this during the Vasana period, and the other one was the Katina robe offering before pandemic. But after the pandemic, our schedule changed, and Lompo Viradamo actually might change his schedule, so that I tried my best to invited him to come to our monastery, but he seems very busy and occupied with monastic activities. Being a Sangha leader, there are so many things to consider. But anyway, that's how we maintain relationship with the Tisara Monastery in Perth. So without further ado, I just want to mention you that Ajahn Pauro is going to talk about reflection on life as a forest monk, which would be really interesting. So that we are going to focus the Dhamma sermon he delivers and get benefit from it. I'm a little surprised because we have a lot of Canadian friends usually come for sessions like this, but today I don't know what reasons made this situation. We had a problem with our email last few days. Even emails to our frequent devotees who come to temple in receive well, so that maybe that would be the reason that they didn't get the message. Anyway, we have some friends join with us through Zoom and YouTube and also live stream. You are also welcome along with the devotees of the today's event. I just want to introduce these devotees who organized today's event for everyone. Kasun and Pavitra along with Sakya and also Damayanti, Santa and Nisini. They have special intention in mind in organizing this special Vasana Puja. Kasun and Pavitra and Sakya most probably thinking of giving blessings to their parents, Chandralal Attanapola, and also Lakshmi Attanapola and Kasun grandmother who is in Sri Lanka, and all the family members, and also Pavitra wishes to bless his father and the mother who are in Sri Lanka. And Santa Dasmatma and Nisini are giving blessings to Damayanti Nona, because Damayanti Nona's birthday is today. We don't know which birthday she is having. Anyway, we wish her good health and peace of mind and all the merits and Kusala Chitta we develop here should be with you for a happy and peaceful living. And may your father and all the relatives in the family be well, happy and peaceful by the power of this wonderful event. Let me tell you how we are going to do 1.5 hour events. Already we spent 15 minutes for puja and also introduction. First of all, we observe 5 precepts and conduct the puja, and that will be done by me. And then we invite Venerable Ajahn Pauro to do a short guided meditation and also Dhamma sermon. And if there is any questions, our devotees will ask at the end of the talks. So that's how Venerable Ajahn Pauro conducts today's event. And I guess Venerable Ajahn Pauro has more than 45 minutes for everything. What is time now? It's 5:15. So yeah, close to 50 minutes, I guess. So so we will have some questions too. Anyway, we mean to finish the session by 6:30. Maybe you can have more time, Venerable Sir, for your program. And at the end of the session, we transfer merits to departed relatives and bless those parents and family members once again by mentioning their names and share the merits with divine beings in order to conclude. And the devotees who organize today's event will invite every devotees to participate in the refreshment organized in downstairs, that is after the spiritual program here. So පින්නතුනි අපි එහෙනම් සිළු දෙනාම පූජාව සඳහා සූදානම් වෙමු. ඔබ දුරකථන විසන්ධි කර තබන්න. ඒ වගේම කවුරු හරි ආවට පස්සේ දොර ඇරලා ආවොත් අතන උඩමහලේට එන දොර නැවත වහන්න. අපිට සම්පූර්ණ නිශ්ශබ්දතාවය අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා මේ වැඩසටහන සාර්ථක කර ගැනීම සඳහා. The other thing I just want to mention for understanding of all of us, including Ajahn Pauro, Kanti and Lakshman Dias and family members, and Samanti and Rona Markavatta and family members, and Muring Mata. These are the three families who invited Venerable monks for Vasana retreat on the full moon day of July, and they all participate in today's event. That is one of the customs we practice at our temple. Those devotees who invited Venerable monks to observe Vasana retreat participate in each puja on Sunday and during the weeks. So we bless them also for happiness and peace. And I do not forget those individuals who organize the fundraising event today at the temple. They are still continuing. A lot of people work so hard to make the event a success. So we bless you also for happy and peace in your life. එවනම් අපි සියලු දෙනාම සාදුකාරයක් පවත්වලා නමස්කාරය කියමු. ආසී සමාදන් වෙමු. සාදු Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyang pi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyang pi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyang pi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyang pi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyang pi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyang pi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Kāmesu micchācārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Suramira majjapama dattana වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
සුරාමේරේ වජ්ජපමාදත්තානං වීරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us recite Gatha together to offer the Buddha Puja. The devotees who organized today's puja prepared beverages along with flowers, candles, and incense to respect the Buddha. One of the customs or traditions we always follow to respect the Buddha is these kind of puja trays. We know that we cannot pay enough respect to the Buddha by these material things. But with preparation of all these things, we show our gratitude, respect, and humbleness to the Supreme Buddha with our capacity that you, Bhante, the most Supreme Buddha, taught us Dhamma. You explain us the path to peace and happiness. So this is our veneration and great respect to you, Supreme Buddha. With this intention, devotees all over the world respect the Buddha with material things. But we know the fact that the respecting the Buddha by way of Dhamma practice is the highest. So we do both here together so that our mind are so pure here with the Buddha qualities and also Dhamma qualities and the Sangha qualities. The mindfulness we talk about in the length is also touching this aspect of our mind. We are mindful about the virtues of the Noble Triple Gem. With that in mind, let's recite Gatha together to offer the Buddha Puja. By the power of the merits out of this puja should be with Venerable Ajahn Pauro for his long life with good health, and also long for Viradhammo. May he be in peace at all, and all the Sangha at the Tisana Monastery. And I forgot to introduce you, the Venerable monks at the temple, in my introductory speech. Venerable Mahagama Sunita Thero is behind Venerable Ajahn Pauro, and also behind me, Venerable Nagaswaya Sumaratana. I should welcome them, and also on behalf of you. And these Venerable monks should also benefit from the merits of this puja, and may they be well, happy, and peaceful. And devotees who sponsored today's puja, Kasun, Pavitra, and Sakya, and Damayanti Nona, Santamatmya, and Nisini, and may they all be well, happy, and peaceful. May their wishes come true by the power of these merits. And devotees of the Vasana period, and also upcoming Kachina, and all the devotees who participated in this event in person and also through all the live stream. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. With this wholesome thought in mind, once again, I kindly request you to join with us to recite the Gatha to offer the Buddha Puja. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahan samma sambuddho vijjācārana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sārati sattā deva manussanam buddho bhagavati Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko ehi passiko bhuvanayiko paccattang veditabbo vinyomiti
Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ujjupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Samīci patipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidam cattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala Esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ahuneyo Ahuneyo Dakhineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyaketang Lokasati Vandami Tetiyang Sabbang Sabbakani Supatititang Saririkadatu Mahamoding Buddha Rupang Sakalang Yassa mule nisingnova sabbari vijayannaka Atto sabbang yutang satta vande tang bodhipadam Ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita Ampite namassami bodhirajam namastute Ganasarapparitena dipena kamadangsina Tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamunudang Ganda sambhaya yuttena dhupena sugandhina pujaye pujaniyang tang pujavajana uttamang Vanna gandha guno betang etang kusuma santating Pujayami Nindasa Sirivada Sarodue Pujami Buddhang Kusumena Nena Punyena Etena Chahotu Mokkam Uppam Milaya Matiyata Idang Me Ayo tatayati vinamsabhavan Adivase tuno vante paniyam upanamitam Anukampam upadaya patirannatu Adivase tuno vante ilana kacchayang iman Anukampam upadaya patigannatu uttama Imina punya kammena pami bhara samagamo Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana vattiya Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. පින්තුනි අපි දැන් ගෞරවනීය අජාන් පවුරු හාමුදුරන්ට ආරාධනා කරනවා ඒ භාවනා කටයුතු සහ අනුශාසනාව සිදු කරන්න. On behalf of venerable monks and devotees of today's event and all devotees who participate in different mode of media, we would like to invite Venerable Ajahn Paulu to do a short guided meditation and also the Dhamma sermon based on the topic you Venerables have selected. say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I guess you have roughly 1 hour.
Hope everyone would make themselves comfortable, like you already have. First foundation of mindfulness is the body, and it's very important to find some alignment which is comfortable, which feels well balanced. We live so much of our lives in the head and the mind that it's very valuable to attend to the position of the body, the posture, and where the hands are, where you're sitting on your cushion, keeping the, as best as you can, a little curve at the near the lumbar spine so that it's easy to remain erect without being strained. Just taking some deep breaths. A good way to begin any meditation is, in a way, you started it by beginning so beautifully with the chant, and arranging your mind, precepts that you take, arranging your heart and mind, skillful ways towards the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So these are very good, they're meritorious. They bring beauty to the heart and mind. Another thing that I often encourage in myself and in others is to reflect on all of the sources we have for gratitude in life. Your being here, being supported by the monks who live here, the good instructions they provide, the people, including yourselves, who support these noble monks, and the conditions of the world, of this society, of this country that permit these kinds of gatherings to take place. And then you have your bodies, your own bodies, which you always have little complaints with them, and yet you have enough health to bring you here. People are fed well enough. You have parents you can think of, healthy bodies and minds, teachers that you've had throughout your lives, people who have taken an interest in your well-being, and even just neutral people on the streets who from time to time smile or let your car in when you're trying to make a left turn. All of these occasions actually are suitable for contemplation, and just these moments that can elicit a sense of gratitude towards one another and towards being ourselves, and having the clearest aspirations that we can manage towards becoming better human beings, becoming a little more virtuous, a little more steady, a little more wise. So with those words, just spend these few minutes now, maybe watching the breath rising and falling, inhaling and exhaling. Such a simple thing, do it all the day, all night. Very seldom give it any thought. Someone chose a very beautiful bell. Very fond of good bells. Yeah, that's a good one. So you can tell, maybe I'm not used to giving public talks particularly. So it usually takes a little while to gather my thoughts a bit. It's made much easier though, of course, with a group of people who have an interest in our practice. And it's made much easier with in the context of such a warm welcome given here to me by the monks, as well as all of you lay people here. It's my very first occasion to come here, so I appreciate the invitation. So I thought you might be interested just to hear a little bit about the life of a forest monk, and I think you know about the life of the good monks in your temple here. And likely many of you, at least the elders, all of the adults here are aware of the forms of practice that take place in Sri Lanka. My own practice, I mean, as I was reflecting on it coming here, my life in Buddhism is probably very different from that of most of yours, in that I was not, of course, born into a Buddhist culture. I'm from British Columbia, and so there wasn't much in the way of Buddhism, or any in the way of Buddhism, when I was a young person. But as a young lad, India was of interest to me, and Indian spirituality became of interest, and the idea of meditation, long before the practice, but certainly the idea of meditation was of interest. So I had no monks to follow. I didn't know what they looked like, and I wasn't really looking for them. they would arrive in my life much later. I have spent periods of time at Wat Nanachat in Thailand, and so I've, over the years, both in Thailand and in North America, of course, I've spoken to many, many Western monks. And it's very interesting that all of us have come into the robes in very different ways. One might have been a hippie backpacker who just made his way into Asia and with his guitar slung over his back and long hair and the rest of it, and then found himself in a monastery perhaps. Another person might have read about it online and become over time very interested, or might have met a monk, a strange looking monk in Vancouver or Winnipeg or somewhere like that, and began to take an interest in what that monk was doing and saying. So many approaches into the robes. Probably some of you have read the autobiography of Venerable Rahula, who, if I remember the story correctly, was a Vietnam soldier, American soldier in Vietnam during that conflict, and happened to see across maybe the Mekong River, or anyway, looked across the river to see a silent and composed line of monks coming down a hill, and in order to bathe in the river very mindfully, without splashing about and frolicking, just taking their ease and cleaning their body and their robes, and then making their way back up the hill. I read this many years ago, so I hope I recall the story correctly. But that single impression made such an impression on Rahula that he took to the robes eventually and became the monk that you, I think, know well and respect very much. I finally had an opportunity to pay respects to him just a few months ago, actually, in the last year. My own academic life actually was in religious studies. Eventually, I had this interest in Eastern religions and studied some Sanskrit for a time, and so I was teaching in that discipline. But eventually, the academic inquiry into Buddhism was overwhelmed by an interest in the practice. I started going to meditation retreats in 1980, and they became something very, very important and integral in my life. Why? Because I had experienced things just in the stillness of the mind, in the arising of mindfulness. I've experienced something in my own character, in the very heart of my experience that I'd never experienced before, and it was extremely interesting to me. This is led by a wonderful Austrian-Canadian woman, an elderly woman named Anagarika Damadina, who died about 10 years after I first met her, and who was a very catalytic figure in Western Canada. She came back from 6 years in India and in Sri Lanka, where she became a seminary, and she had herself a very deep meditation practice, a very, very strong samadhi. This was recalled by even her own teachers, whose students are still alive now in Sri Lanka. I've spoken with, I think it's Venerable Pema Siri, I believe is his name. Wonderful monk whom I met very, very briefly in England a few years ago. So I had the good fortune to meet my very first meditation retreat, this wise woman. She called herself Anagarika Damadina. She sort of stepped out of the seminary robes and into what for her were more practical attire, of the Anagarika, and spent the rest of your years in Western Canada teaching and practicing very ardently. And as Ajahn Sona said, when you meet a person like this, especially in the circumstances of Western Canada in the 1980s, when you meet a person like this, it's like finding a diamond on the beach. It's a lovely image. Very true though, because such a rarity. As I said earlier, there just weren't monks walking to and fro in the street giving Vindabad every morning. No. Western Canada wasn't full of Buddhist temples and monasteries. No. So having the good fortune to meet a person of this caliber, a teacher of exquisite perception and very wise advice. This is a very good thing, and my own life is kind of unimaginable now without having that exposure to her character and teachings. So when I decided to become a monk, it was not actually to continue a kind of academic pursuit. I had studied Abhidhamma a little bit in my lay life and found parts of it interesting and parts of it did not meld so well with my character. And I was interested, what really interested me in Buddhism were the stories in Zen Buddhism and Tibetan monks, and they're kind of lively and colorful and interesting, and they were the kinds of things that I would remember. And what happened, I think, eventually is that I encountered the Thai forest tradition. That was kind of available to me through Ajahn Sona, and then my preceptor, Lumpur Pasano, and the good monks at the Vayagiri and elsewhere. But encountering this, living what was available to me at that time, living a Buddhist monastic tradition, forest tradition, and one of the things that I encountered were the stories, because it was very much a living tradition. And many of my teachers, including Lumpur Viradhammo, had the very great fortune of sitting at the feet of Lumpur Cha for many years. Some of you may know that last summer, Lumpur Samedho, who is Lumpur Cha's senior most Western disciple, last year he spent about a month in Canada with us, and that was a very great honor and pleasure to see him again. So I began to meet these monks and encounter this tradition, not only in books, but through tapes at the time. We didn't have MP3s, and as I say, through the stories handed down from monk to monk to monk, and through books. So in my life in the robes and well before the robes, something very interesting has happened, which is that all of these stories, all of these books, all of the live teachings are now on MP3, and they're published freely in books and so on. So nowadays, young people, middle-aged or older people, have access to these teachings in a very vivid kind of manner, well published or beautifully recorded, as is occurring here. And this brings monastic life and practice and the teachings of the Buddha. It brings these things to people in a way which is so accessible and wonderful, and another source of gratitude, in fact. So eventually, after early years of training at Birken, and just encountering the discipline of Vinaya, because you may know, the forest tradition, and I expect all of the monastic traditions, of course, need to study Vinaya, the rules around for monks and nuns. We study Vinaya and put it into practice, and every culture probably has slightly different lenses with which to view monastic practice. in view of Vinaya. Nevertheless, that was certainly part of my early training. And when I went to Thailand, some of the nuances of Thai culture then naturally took hold, because they have certain expectations of monks in Thailand. But I got to see finally monks by the dozen and monks by the hundreds, and just live amongst them. I've always preferred to live in a smaller monastery, but nevertheless, I've spent time in larger ones, 20 or 30 or more monks. And I think it's actually an old saying about what living in community does in monastic life. It's like some of you know about rock polishing. You know, you put a lot of stones into a tumbler or something. I've never actually seen these things, but the stones just keep kind of rolling around and knocking off the rough bits, and eventually you get these beautiful rounded stones that are kind of polished and feel very nice to the touch. That's what monastic life is like. And in fact, some of you might even reflect that the best of married life is like that too. Young men and young women come together, and they have their rough edges and expectations and kind of selfish needs and things that they don't understand about other people. And in a good, healthy relationship, these things are brought into light and discussed and is seen for what they are. And in the best of marriages that I've ever seen, people in the middle of their lives and later are become good companions, good friends. So lay life can also offer these great teachings. So in forest monasteries, the idea is for a forest monastery to be more removed from city life, from town life. That becomes, and part of that is the need for a degree of silence. So our kutis, our little huts, are outside of the main monastery buildings, and the kutis tend to be separated by a good distance from one another. Even each of the kutis will normally have a good walking path for walking meditation. We so often think of meditation solely as sitting, sitting on a cushion, but in fact, the Buddha again and again spoke about sitting, walking, standing, and lying down. And whenever I do teach meditation, I make reference to these other postures because we so often forget. Standing meditation has a great value, as does walking. Walking meditation may be my favorite form, actually. And lying meditation, and many of you have heard Mumpo Viradamo, and he is one of the few monks that I know who actually gives, in every retreat, gives time to discussing lying meditation. It's been very valuable in his life, which is why he can expound on it so knowledgeably. But we all lie down every day, and for one thing. And there are times in most people's lives when they are sick, just can't get out of bed. And imagine the benefit of having some kind of practice established in the lying posture over maybe years or maybe even decades of your life, so that some of that lying down prone because of sickness, of illness, of weakness, imagine if some of that period in which you're lying prone like that was brought into the fold of meditation, and that you could establish once more this precious mindfulness in that state. So yeah, we have these four postures, and life in a forest monastery means that we have access to silence, solitude, and hopefully the proper conditions for meditation. Then, of course, it's up to our unruly minds to permit that. And every monk, of course, has distractions, preoccupations, as temperamental issues, maybe. And just so you know, I expect you know very well, any mature person would understand this, but monasteries aren't always really peaceful places. Sometimes there are disagreements, there are approaches to a building project, which might, people might have different opinions around it, or these sorts of things happen. And so monks take their lives to the kuti and find themselves in practice wherever they are in that given day. But having those resources of silence and solitude, these are just very, very precious, because they permit the kind of simplicity that enables the mind to potentially, at least, to become still and clear, poised and alert. And it's in these conditions, of course, that penetrating insight even may arise. So we are gifted with this opportunity through the resources that are given to us as forest monks, to be able to live in this way. Something. I live with Upur Dhammo, so I have a very wise friend and teacher that I can confer with, ask questions of. But in Thailand, of course, you have a lot of resources, a lot of teaching resources available. And so typically, in addition to perhaps having a few monk friends who are roughly around your seniority, or have roughly the similar kinds of temperamental issues, you also can find, hopefully, one or two very good teachers. And in any monastic, in any world in which monasticism, Buddhist monasticism thrives, such as Sri Lanka, such as Thailand, such as Burma, there are some teachers of some renown. And I've also had the great fortune just to sit with some of these wonderful human beings. Lumpur Liam comes to mind, who is the chosen successor to Lumpur Cha, and so who is still the senior monk at Wat Papong. And Ajahn Thanajan Anand, who has a large monastery in Rayong, south of Bangkok, is a teacher I've probably spent most time with. That is a senior teacher I've spent the most time with. But many others in our particular sangha, Prapriyak and others. It's a wonderful thing, I think, to be around a person with whom you can feel, to whatever degree I'm capable of that, but you can feel a depth of calm, a depth of wisdom and stability. The mind does not need to move around much. There's not a kind of emotional reaction going on in their minds that I can observe, at least. There's just a steadiness. There's a capacity for humor, and certainly a great deal of metta can be often very prominent in these wonderful monks. But it's very stimulating, very encouraging, very inspiring to be around great practitioners, because you see a little bit, you see the way forward, you might say. You see what this practice actually leads to, can lead to. And so it gives you encouragement, gives you courage as well to continue, not to give up. Because as we know, the only way the Eightfold Path doesn't work is if we get off it. And it's quite a wonderful thing, actually, just to consider wherever we are, lay person, monastic, monk, nun, samanera, mother of three, father who's just lost his job, wherever we are, actually, we have we have this threefold training of virtue, of sila, samadhi, panya. If this is in the heart of our life, regardless of what externals are occurring, of course, we need to be responsible for the families that you have and so forth. But regardless of what may be occurring in your life, sila, samadhi, panya, the elements of the Eightfold Path, if they somehow are brought to the heart and mind, brought into the attention regularly, daily. I'm a great advocate of fridge magnets. You know, writing out your favorite list of Dhamma, themes, putting it on the fridge for the week, for the month, reminding yourself of the paramis or whatever your favorite list. Because I know I expect all of you know very well that there are a lot of lists in Buddhism, correct? A lot of numbers, and just put it on the fridge. And call it to mind every time you go to the fridge, every time you walk past the fridge. Not as rebukes or, I can't do that, I'm not a good practitioner yet, but as encouragements, because these words, there's power in them. There's power and beauty, and there's wisdom that's just pregnant within these words, and then the relationship between these precious words and these lists that we have. Sila, samadhi, panya, you don't need any more than that, maybe. So yeah, fridge magnets. You didn't think you'd hear about fridge magnets, did you? So in my life as a forest monk, in fact, I'm certain that I know much less chanting than the good monks here. And by the way, I was very much enjoying the chanting that occurred around the Tipiso and so forth, because it reminded. I've been to Bodh Gaya quite a few times, and if you've been there, you'll know what it's like to be in the midst of quite often a kind of cacophony. Sometimes pujas going on in 3 languages, and they're all amplified, of course. And but I've gone there with a good friend, my abbot in Thailand. I've gone there normally to meditate. So we would meditate 6, 8, or 10 hours a day. And so you get used to the fact that there's just commotion, people walking behind you. You're just sitting against. Usually we're at the north end of the complex, so that we don't get in the way of the sun. And these pujas are going on, and then there are these blessed times in the day when it's quite quiet. And then at about when the sun goes down, the birds start to make a lot of noise as they begin to nest in the Bodhi trees. So it's a very interesting place. But I was reminded of your chanting, because I think Sri Lankan is one of my favorite, the kind of cadence, the kind of melodic character of Sri Lankan chanting is among my favorites. Thai chanting, on the other hand, is a little different, but of course that's what I had to get used to. Yeah, it's a great good fortune to be a monk and to be offered the opportunities that we often are offered. Sometimes some travel comes into our world. Being able to pay respects to the holy sites in India, for instance, visiting great monks, and receiving requests such as this one today to speak to devout lay people who are interested in practice, who are basically good people interested in becoming better people. I mean, that's quite a marvelous thing in any world, isn't it? Just to be around good people who want to be better, even better. Why not? Sky's the limit. So there are wonderful advantages, privileges, and to living this life. And very grateful for having met Anagarika Damadina many years ago, and for whatever the conditions are in my own heart and mind that prompted me to continue to look into it, to kind of lean into this and begin to investigate what it was that just kept interesting me about the theory, the teachings, and of course the practice. Early on, when we practice, I think, and maybe we are able to get to a retreat, and we have some periods of stillness, and it seems like some kind of breakthrough might feel very close, and everyone who's had just a pleasant meditation, a very quiet meditation on the mind is still, I think, probably because it's going on 45 years now, and probably everyone who has this, they think, oh, that's how meditation should be, and so they try to get it the next time, and of course it doesn't raise its head again. It's a very shy thing. Like the particular, precise, very subtle conditions that permit clarity of this quality are very shy. They're very subtle. And so when we expect them, they run and hide for a while. So as I often reflect in my own practice, it seems so much of what is most pertinent in my own practice, and I expect it might be the same for many of you, is getting out of the way. That is removing desire from the whole equation. It's a very, very difficult thing. We're human beings after all. We're almost hardwired for that. But to get out of the way, just to allow things to unfold, but to have a clear sense of where we're going. As the Buddha said to Bahia, you need to begin. You need to cultivate the starting place of all wholesome states, which is virtue, which is well purified, view, which is straight. When the virtue is well purified and view is straight, then develop the full foundations of mindfulness. And it's simple instructions of this kind, I think, which are I find most beautiful and compelling. I think all of our temperaments are bound to be different. Our minds, the things that we are as practitioners most interested in, are bound to be a little different. Our tradition, our history as humans in this life are certainly different. But find out what it is that is of most interest in this practice. Find out those things in the Buddhist teachings that are the most precious and powerful. And then just continue to work with them, nurture them like a little child. Honor them. So, maybe I'll leave these reflections with you, and we have time for questions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that, and I'll get some more water.
I have a quick question. So I know earlier on you said you differentiated between the academic study of Buddhism, and then we talked a lot about the practice of Buddhism. So perhaps earlier on in your practice, what were some attainable goals that you may have set for yourself as you were getting started?
Attainable goals. What were some attainable goals? Well, quite often goals might be things that we set ourselves to. For instance, we make little determinations that are within our realm of possibilities. So it looks like you're a family man, and so you have a responsibility around your children and your wife and your business and everything else. So if we assume that some kind of dedication to practice, and first of all, how do we define practice? Yeah, Well, I would always begin with virtue, keeping the precepts. I mean, that is just fundamental. I think one of the you might say, yeah, mistakes, I would say, that Westerners made very early on, like in the 70s, is that they felt that they could just meditate and, but their moral lives could be a little bit loose, perhaps, and they could forget about some of these things. And I think, as maturity sort of set in, that was cleared up quickly. But for any of us, everything in this practice begins on the foundation of virtue. Having, no regrets. That conversation, that argument I got into so-and-so, I said things that I really shouldn't have. And, we if we're normal people with a conscience, we look back at that and it will be unsettling. And then we need to find ways of making the mind clear again. But if we do our very best to act and think and speak in ways which are harmonious with life and with virtue, then that is an attainable goal, I think. Also important to forgive ourselves and to realize that we're bound to make mistakes. Lesson number one, right? I'm human, that sort of thing. But that's certainly an attainable goal. That is, that I will keep my virtue foremost, during my day-to-day life, the things that I do and say and intent and all that. I'll just remember that I'm keeping these precepts. And as you do, your understanding of the precepts will deepen. Wisdom, in other words, has a lot to say to how the precepts work. So the precepts themselves become more clear. Our moral character becomes wiser. Yeah. So and that's just a natural gift for having honored the precepts and kept them. That's certainly something that a person can give themselves to, and a benefit will be immediate. It'll be. There are times when keeping virtue is inconvenient. Yeah, it's easier sometimes to niggle a little bit on saying things which aren't quite true. Yeah, but we have to live with ourselves. Yeah, we're always going to be the ones living with ourselves, and developing that clarity of intent and often the courage, of course, the honesty. It just has huge benefits to the mind, to the heart, and then maybe depending on a person's circumstance, once a year I'm going to go to a meditation retreat, say, just as an example. Maybe there's a 3-day retreat that you can get to, or maybe there's some kind of occasion that is offered, say, this temple here, a few times a year. It's a little bit hard to arrange, but you can do it once a year or something. So you can make little determinations like this, which not only are they good in and of themselves, whatever the practice involves, it's going to be good. Yeah, it's in line with your precepts. It fits into your understanding of Buddhist tradition. So that's good. But living up to these little determinations also has the benefit of giving, it stiffens the spine a little bit. It gives a person a little deeper sense of self-respect. So it's very good for I know talking about self-esteem and all of that is a little bit problematic in view of Anatta, but you know what I mean. Just a healthy sense of respect for oneself is a very good thing. So these are attainable goals. I think they're realizable, and don't forget about fridge magnets. Really, I'm quite. I mean, write down the 4 Brahma-viharas and just contemplate them once in a while. What does mudita look like? Are there occasions for mudita in my life, in my day-to-day life? and you'll find that there are, but sometimes these little reminders that take place, that begin on fridges, they can be really valuable. So just see how that, and we have to make this practice work for ourselves, and we get to be creative, and we get to apply our own loving intelligence to this practice. If we value it, we can do that. So these are all very attainable, and our understanding of the Buddha's word, the Buddha's teachings, understanding of ourselves and others will just will mature, will blossom as the months and years go by. Life will be better, and we'll have more resources to bring to those times which are challenging: sickness, loss, job loss. I mean, there's so many things. Of course, dukkha is a characteristic of existence after all. But if we have more strength, courage, honesty, diligence, if we have more of these noble qualities to bring to the inevitable challenges of life, so much the better. So. Any other questions? Or? Is that more or less what you're is it, you want to follow up or?
No, I think that was perfect. It was more around, again, maybe just do a double click into the meditation side of things. If you're getting started with meditation, of course, doing long hours as an amateur is very difficult. But what's a good place to start?
Well, start with some understanding of your own capabilities, but also not just your capabilities, but the capabilities of your family. If you set the bar too high, okay, I'm really charged up. I believe in the Buddha. So I read the biography of this saint, and he did it this way. I'm going to do the same thing. It's probably not going to work, frankly speaking. There are monks that I've met, or certainly read about, who meditate, 20 hours a day. So I can't do that. I might be able to do it once or twice, but these are. So you have to, in terms of meditation, yes, daily meditation, yes, very, very good. It might depend a little bit on your day, but early in the morning, late at night, early in the morning is quiet, late at night is quiet. Kids are in bed, they've had their bath, right? That's the way it goes usually. If you, for instance, if you get up early in the morning, say you normally get up at 6:30, and you say, well, I'll start getting up at 5:30. That's doable, really. And it might also mean that you play a fewer video games at night, to get to bed a little bit earlier. You know what I mean? So there is a kind of discipline, and it focuses your attention because you've given value to this thing, and then you start feeling the benefit of getting up a little bit early and sitting for 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is, maybe doing a little bit of this lovely chanting, something like that. It's a very good way to start the day, and most people that I know who have done that will report in fairly short order that their day is a little better, a little bit different. They bring a little bit more equilibrium, a little bit more peace, a little bit more space, just space in their heart and mind into the day. Maybe you can also, or maybe it's preferable for a person to do it at night. Again, depending on your circumstances with a young family, but just sitting for, making it a group. I usually watch my favorite show from 10 to 11 or 10 to 10:30 or something. I think I can give that up for meditation for my life, and start doing it like that. I often think, doing some kind of metta practice morning and evening is very good. You know, people do complain about being really busy, and I get it. You know, I was a householder too, and but at some point I always went to bed, and eventually I fell asleep. That was just the way my day goes. I'm pretty sure it's more or less like that for everybody. And when you go to bed, you make yourself comfortable. And before you go to sleep, usually people don't fall asleep, you know, in a single breath. You've got a little bit of time. And it's a comfortable place. Probably it's quite quiet because after all, it's conducive to your falling asleep, you know. So what if you have a kind of dedicated period there for some metta? So think of it at the end of the day, and you think over your family, your parents, your teachers, your whatever. You just sort of spread some metta to them. You develop some metta in your own heart, and maybe some gratitude just for having, you know, the health and life you have, and you know, may this continue. May all my loved ones prosper. May they have the honesty and courage, and may they have the spiritual qualities to respond wisely to any challenges before them. May I also have the wisdom and so forth to respond well to the challenges in my life. May my family be healthy and well and safe, and you know, whatever. Just you could write something out, or you could come up with a new formula every day, or settle into one way of doing it, so the mind doesn't have to think about what next to say. That's a very beautiful way to go to sleep. It's also quite a nice way to wake up in the day. You know, so for instance, you could get up a little bit earlier in the morning, have your meditation, and then always make sure that you've got 10 minutes even, you know, at night before you go to sleep, just to reflect on the day, and sort of bring forth some of that beauty that comes from gratitude and well-wishing. You know, it's a very precious thing. No human life would not be improved, and it would not be ennobled by giving him or herself to this kind of practice, I would say. So those are very attainable things, I think. Yeah. Good luck.
Venerable sir,
Yes.
what kind of advice would you give a lay person? Like, thank you for explaining your forest monks life. It was very nice. But for us lay people, there may be people who practice a couple of hours a day, but we interact more with the outside world most of the time, unlike a forest monk. What advice can you give us? Lay people who have a lot of interactions, and we are affected by the 8 winds.
Yeah. So for a person who does have more time to practice in my life, maybe who is, you know, retired or in a stage of life that admits that, but you interact with the 8 winds, as you say. A sense of humility is helpful, yeah, because you realize, and all of us realize, that we have our limitations. And there's something that Ajahn Suni used to talk about, surprise meditation, which is you get up in the morning and you think, yeah, the universe is under no obligation to provide everything that I want and expect today. I'll probably be surprised by a few things, you know. A little bit of that is good. Sense of humor is good, I think. Not expecting, again, this is a way of getting out of the way, you know, just, okay, quite often I have 2 hours to practice, and what do I expect from that? What are my goals, and how am I? Sometimes we're keeping score too carefully, or almost immodestly in a way, because it's gone well for a week, and then all of a sudden things go up, and the car isn't, it needs to be repaired or whatever, and your sister calls, and then you have whatever happens. So just being kind of modest about this is, these are these hours, this is this 2 hour a day that I'm able to practice, and then life will make its demands on me, and some faith, I would say, is helpful. Faith in what? Faith that just by doing this is my duty. My duty is to do the practice, but it's you might say the duty of the practice to work its magic in me. I don't have to control all of that. In other words, quite often getting out of the way is another way of explaining that is not assuming that you're actually in control of everything. So things will come up in the world, and probably you can have the faith or recognize that this or that crisis maybe. Boy, I'm sure glad that I've had these years of practice and that I've had this interest in practice, because I could have really gone badly, but it wasn't so bad. Also recognizing that the world doesn't necessarily even value what it is that you value. Yeah. So somebody needs your attention and they're demanding of it and okay, well, maybe you can say no, and maybe you can't, and it isn't up to this person to fulfill my need to meditate. So. I would if you haven't already done so, I would consider the other postures. I'm not sure about your practice, of course, but remember, there is this thing called standing meditation, and perhaps walking meditation might be useful. Sometimes bodies aren't agreeable enough for us to be sitting long periods, as an example. We often speak of the 4 elements in terms of the posture. So you have sitting as the earth element, stability, bearing, and standing is the fire element. So the energy, the body and the energy just change when you stand. So if, for instance, if sitting becomes feeling some lethargy, some sleepiness, just some heaviness, standing is often very useful for that, because you feel energy quite immediately. Feeling it on your feet, you can sort of just very, very gently rock, just to kind of increase the pressure on one foot, now the other, just to kind of get yourself grounded. And if keeping your eyes a little bit open is useful for most of us, especially if your balance is a little bit. Walking meditation, it's not always so easy for folks if you say live in an apartment, but very often there's a hallway or something. You don't need too much room, and of course you're not trying to get anywhere, are you? So walking meditation is there, and then, as I've said, lying meditation is certainly something to consider. So sometimes expanding your palate, it is useful. It's a little bit encouraging, because you realize, this is I'm more adaptable. This is more portable than I thought it was for a while. So now I'm looking at the clock. Good. Hope that's helpful.
Very good. Yes. It's really wonderful to be a part of this gathering, because John Auro was able to take us to Sila, Samadhi and Panya with guided meditation, and also Dhamma talk on reflection on life as a forest monk. He was able to share with us some ways he showed, he experienced his life in line with the Dhamma, which is wonderful for people to think about their life as well. We have seen the Buddha and great disciples did the same thing in their reflection, and that helps the people in multitude to practice the Dhamma, so that what you did today is a great thing for us. And
I pick up some interesting point for myself, and I think everybody else did the same thing, because in one sermon we all get something, and they could be different, right? So one of the things I always keep in mind, that this moment would be the last moment in our life. It could be either last moment or not, but the important thing we get out of that reflection is getting away from unwholesomeness and living with the wholesome thing, including mindfulness and other spiritual qualities. So that we have a lot of things on the table provided by the Buddha for us to take and think. I think many of you need reminders of all these Dhamma time to time to get into right practice, including this kind of talking and Dhamma talks and inspiration. That's why Hilda Javaradhanarami would like to invite venerable monks like Ajahn Pauro from different tradition, so that we have that experience from different monasteries. So we are a center. We are from a center which caters all the devotees, all the people who come here, who are not coming here, with the essence of that kind of Dhamma from different monks and lay people. So I'm very happy about the 1 hour Dhamma sharing Venerable Ajahn Pauro. It's so wonderful. And on behalf of Bhante Sunit and Bhante Sumanatha, I appreciate it in a number of ways, and may the merits out of the puja, out of meditation and Dhamma sermon, may you be well, happy and peaceful. We all need good health and peace of mind all the time in order for us to stay in the monastic life fruitfully. I think you have it, and may you have our blessings too, to continue your monastic practices to the end of it, and also serve the world in such a way. With that thought in mind, say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let me wrap up with the transferring minutes to all the devotees and also people who participate here. That is the last thing we do in today's program. I take maybe less than 10 minutes for that. I kindly request you to remain, attentive and mindful, and most importantly, keeping your compassion in mind for you and everybody else. So, with the advice of Venerable Mahasangha, the devotees Kasun, Pavitra, Sakya, though he is not that happy, he is also part of this organizing puja. Their intention was to bless their beloved parent, who's especially Chandralal Atanapola and Lakshmi Atanapola, who joined with us through Zoom today from Toronto, and also parents of Pavitra and grandmother of Kasun, and brother and sister of Kasun, and also Paboda, sister of Pavitra, and everyone else. May they be well, happy and peaceful. They did a wonderful puja and also short meditation and listen to Dhamma sermon. These are some meritorious activities you do. And Venerable Ajahn Paolo said that practicing Dhamma would be from the Sila, and then periodical practices of Dhamma with meditation, and he said a lot of things. So I think you were able to do all kinds of meritorious deed here with those practices, and may these blessings and merits be with all the family members for the betterment of your life right now and attain Nirvana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, Santa Mahatmya and Nisini, along with others, did this puja to bless Damayanti. I don't know whether you celebrate your birthday today. We do it because you are such a wonderful human. Since we came to know, you were dedicated to your practice, and she actually was at the Tisarana yesterday. Yes. So she participated at your place event yesterday, and she is one of the devotees who wants to practice meditation and other Dhamma practices. So we are very happy, and this is the gift we could give you for your birthday, and that is, may you attain nirvana in this very life, and whatever you do turn goal in the spiritual sense. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. And we never forget your father who had been here for a certain period of time with you, and Santamatma and Nisini are dedicated devotees also. We wish everyone in the family be well, happy, and peaceful. And then we, of course, transfer marriage to all devotees who participated in the event here in person, and also those friends who joined with us through Zoom and YouTube and live stream. You got a lot of Dhamma elements from Ajahn Amaro and other wonderful people here. So make a wish that may these merits and good practices and sharing Dhamma be with myself and my family, and may we all be well, happy, and peaceful. May you also attain nirvana. And I should share merits with the devotees who sponsor Vasana retreat and also upcoming Katina, Lakshman Das Petuma and Kantamani along with children, and Samantinon and Ronaya along with children, and Murin Manu. May they be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be able to continue a Dhamma practice further with so much strength in mind, and may you attain nirvana by the power of these merits. And children and everyone who participated in the event here, or partially or fully, may you all be well, happy, and peaceful too. And I should share merits with those devotees who organized today's fundraising event. We all know the fact that we need this place to run smoothly, and those people who dedicated their time did a great job, and may you also be well, happy, and peaceful. And the gentleman who gave transportation for Venerable Ajahn Paolo from Dasatthana Monastery and back to the monastery. Thank you very much for your dedication. May your practice, become stronger, and may you be able to achieve the spiritual goal as you wish with the power of these merits. I think I have covered up everything. Api දැන් සියලු දෙනාම මේ පින්කම අවසන් කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. ඊටාම සතුටින් මේ පින්කම වෙනද වගේම සිද්ධ කළා. අපි කවුරුත් හැමතිස්සෙම හිතන ආකාරයට අපේ ඒකායන අරමුණ නිවන් දැකීම සඳහා සුදුසුකම් සම්පූර්ණ කිරීම. මේ ක්වොලිෆිකේෂන්ස් තමයි අපි ලබා ගන්න. ඉතින් පූජා තුලින්, පිරිත් දේශනා තුලින්, දානමාන තුලින්, ඊළඟට වෙනත් ආකාරයේ විවිධ ක්‍රියා තුලින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ අර සීල සමාධි ප්‍රඥා වැඩි වීම. ඒ සඳහා තමයි මේ පින්කම් කරන්නේ. අවස්ථා ලබා දීමක් හැටියට ඔබ සියලු දෙනා ගැන සතුටු වෙනවා. මේ පුණ්‍ය ශක්තිය ඔබ සියලු දෙනාට ඒ සඳහා ශක්තියක් වේවා කියලා අවසාන වශයෙන් ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් we move on to share merits with departed relatives and divine beings. Just remember your relatives and friends who passed away recently and long time ago, even those relatives and friends who passed away in previous lives. Come and receive these merits, and may they attain nirvana. Those divine beings who attain to certain stages of enlightenment and stay in the divine existence also receive these merits. May they all support us in need for our practice, and may they finally attain nirvana. With this wholesome thought in mind, let's share the merits with departed relatives and friends and devas. Idam me jnati-nang hotu sukhita huntu jnatayo. Idam me jnati-nang hotu sukhita huntu jnatayo. Idam me jnati-nang hotu sukhita huntu jnatayo. Ittavataja amnehi sambhatam punya sampadam. Sabbe deva Odantu sabba sampatti siddhi.
Ittavataca ammehi sampatam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ittavataca ammehi sampatam punya sampadam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Next is offering a token of appreciation by the name of Pirikara to Venerable Ajahn Pauro. So while devotees get ready for that, I just want to inform you about the next event of this kind. That would be next weekend. It is the Nikini Full Moon 4-day Sila program for us from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. we conduct a day-long program with meditation, Dharma talks, and chanting. Unfortunately, they are in Sinhalese, not in English. Anyway, if you are interested in practicing meditation, please wait. Please wait. You could come for morning meditation session. So weekly program, I should announce them once again. Bhante Sunita will be conducting tomorrow evening meditation program and Dharma talk from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Those who are interested in this program, please come over here to the temple. Otherwise, you can join online. Other than this, everyday guided meditation will be started from tomorrow morning. We cancel it for 3 days due to various programs we had during the weekend, but we'll start it tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to 9:45. So you are welcome to participate in any of those daily programs. Abhisilo Deram Sadhukarak Pavantu Pirikara Puja. වැඩසටහනේ අවසානයේ අපි දැන් සනිටුවන් කරනවා මේ පූජාව සංවිධානය කරන පිළිතුරු කුසල දනාට තීපැත් සංග්‍රහය සඳහා ආරාධනා කරනවා මහා සංඝරත්නයට දෙලම්පකාදී පූජා කරනවා එවනම් ඔබ සියලු දෙනාට මේ දිනු කරගත්තා ගුණ ශක්තිය බලයෙන් ආයුර ආරෝග්‍ය සැප සම්පත් වර්ධනය වේවා නිවන් පිණිස මේ පින් උපකාර වේවා කියන අදිෂ්ඨාන කරගෙන වන්දනා කරගන්න. We have come to the end of today's Vasana Puja. We conclude by wishing you good health, peace of mind. Anytime you respect the noble Sangha with so much devotion, you accumulate a lot of merits. And the Dhamma you practice is such so that may these merits be with you for long life with good health. May you attain Nirvana in this very life. With this wholesome thought in mind, we recite the concluding stanza. Receive blessings from Mahasangha. Abhivadana Silissa Nichang Vaddhabhachayino Chattaro Dhamma Vaddanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balang Ayurarogya Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Atho Nibbana Sampatti Minate Samicchatu. So much for